Everybody, welcome back. Episode 3 of the Till Corner Podcast. We appreciate everyone supporting, like, sharing, subscribing. It's always free to support a friend. We appreciate all of that love. How you doing, Kat?
I'm good. I'm excited to talk about all this stuff tonight. So it'll be a good one.
I agree. A lot going on with the Jaguars. Let's dive into it. We got franchise tag. We got a lot of moving parts. So the Jaguars did some restructuring to help get closer to under that salary cap. How do you like the moves?
I liked it a lot because that was Kirk Jones and Scherf that took that like signing bonuses. So I thought that was cool. It's always good to see that they did that, and then it'll be interesting to kind of see how because it freed up was what like 26 million in cap space. So it was cool to see how they did that. And I mean, like cap space, you can see with like the Saints is like doesn't really exist much anyway. But yeah, I really thought that that was a good move, and it's good to see them freeing that up a little bit.
Yeah, and definitely cleared up over 20 million, which was much needed.
Yeah.
A lot of people, around Twitter and those kind of things don't understand how restructuring work. It could be changing the amount of money they're going to make. It could just be converting the base salary, a portion of it into a signing bonus. It
Yeah.
could be restructuring to extended deal like we saw with some others, with Foyer, Lewican, and Roy. So
Yeah.
you only really want to restructure guys that you really anticipate having on your team,
Yeah.
that you trust and depend on. Because if you restructure the wrong guy and give him guaranteed money up front, he can check out at any time during that season. It's a lot of things that can go wrong with taking the cash over cap method. So
Yeah.
just something to think about. And you also don't want to restructure guys that you plan on moving on from, like Cam Robinson and those guys. You just eat
Yeah.
that cap hit for the year and then move on after that. So I think those three guys that you mentioned, Zay Jones, is definitely in the plan for this year. Super
Yeah.
reliable, super healthy guy. They're going to depend on him to be the wide receiver 3. Christian Kirk, same thing. I mean, the guys earn every dollar in that contract right now.
Absolutely.
Um, you even got some of his peers throwing him in the top 5, like Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
Said Christian Kirk is a top 5 receiver. So it's just great to see Kirk getting more recognition across the NFL.
Absolutely.
And then Brandon Sheriff, all pro guard for many years. Depending on how he finished his career, potential Hall of Famer. I mean, the guy was unanimously the top guard for years running. So it's interesting to see. He's making so much money too. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Like $23 million cap hit for a freaking guard, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think those three, cash over cap, signing bonus, conversion from base salary, were
Yeah.
all smart moves. What you think about the restructuring of Hasty? Oh, no, Hasty was just extended. What do you
Yeah.
think
Hasty
about
and Harris were extended.
yeah? What do you think about the moves with those two and CJ Beathard?
So CJ Beathard, I didn't really mind that. I kind of expected that one. Um, I was surprised about Roy Robertson Harris getting extended, but I'm not mad at it. I mean, he really progressed over weeks 14 through the divisional game, where he had like 21 pressures and 3 sacks, as opposed to the 16 pressures and 1 sack in weeks 1 to 13. So he really did
Yes.
improve a lot at the end of the season. And I just love his personality. I think he's great. I think he's a great teammate. And overall, I really like him. And so I wasn't like upset or anything when he got extended. And then I like Hasty as well. I think that that was just a smart move. He helps take the workload off of ETN a little bit. It can't just be him, doing everything all the time. So he also, I think Hasty is pretty good blocking as well. So I'm thinking correctly. So I think that those were both good extensions. What were your thoughts on all three of those?
Yeah, so I'll start with CJ Beathard. I like the move. He knows Trevor. He knows the system. He's comfortable in the offense. So a lot of news came out of the locker room that the guy prepares really hard, prepares like he's going to be the starter every week, just in case something happens.
Yeah.
He isn't, complaining or pushing Trevor out of his job or trying to um yeah, that's what you want in a veteran backup quarterback for a young guy. Trevor's still a young guy going into year 3, really more like year 2 with the urban year. But I think that was a good backup, especially for the amount of money he signed for. Very minimal,
Yeah.
no impact really on the salary cap. Doesn't take you out of drafting a guy late in the draft either. Stetson Bennett or something to, potentially be a successor.
Yeah.
And then Hasty had some big plays last year. Before ETN's Houston run, he had the longest run of the season. So, I mean, he's an explosive guy, potential big play guy. I don't know how the depth shakes out at running back after the draft. I see the Jaguars have talked to Tank Bigsby. They've talked to Tajay Spears. They've been talking to running back. So I think it's clear that they're looking at one of those guys that can do a little bit more than Hasty in between the
Hmm.
tackles, just to help take further load off ETN. I doubt he plays all 17 games every year. His contract's coming up, as well. So I think that's another thing that they're looking at, and they're probably going to draft it back and have a 3-headed monster, which is never a bad thing.
Nope.
And then Roy Robinson Harris. So I spoke about him last episode.
Yeah.
I did think he was a potential cut. I mean, saving $7 million with the way they're looking at the cap right now would have gave you the money to potentially be a lot closer to bringing back Jawan Taylor, um, or Arden Key. If you just straight up cut him, the way they did his salary conversion, I think his base hit for the next 2 years is like 4 million. So it's
Okay.
still not a huge on the cap. Um, didn't eat up too much money. Actually, looking at it, how they structured the deal, there's a team out after 2 more years. So, I mean, I think it was a smart move. They think he's an ascending player. Hard to argue with it after the second half of the year. But the first half of this year and again last year were not too promising. So we'll see. They took a gamble, calculated. They're not paying him crazy on the cap, so that's Shot Khan's money.
Yeah.
Okay. And then Evan Ingram.
Yeah, he got franchise tagged.
A
We're
lot
like,
of talk about that.
we knew that that was coming, but
Hmm.
it was just kind of like when it was gonna happen. So they finally did it.
Yeah, and it was weird because last week they put out a lot of, oh, Evan Ingram expected to be franchise tag, like blah 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 blah
Hmm.
blah. And people was like, oh, he's tagged. And it was like, no, expected.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, okay, well, let's wait a couple more days of madness. And then Evan went on Twitter. He's been active on there this offseason, posting more stuff. And
Yeah.
he was even being hypercritical about the franchise tag, saying that, it's crazy that the franchise tag for or for a tight end is only 11
And
million compared to the wide receiver. He does a lot of work out of the slot too and those kind of things. So
yeah,
he was a little bit complaining about the numbers because even if you're a slot receiver and you get franchise tagged, it's significantly greater than the tight end tag. So
for sure.
I get it. I mean, he wants a long-term deal. Still not going to get wide receiver money, but
No,
that's why I was kind of weird. I'm like, okay, still top 10 money for a tight. That's what the
a
franchise
tight
tag
end.
is.
Yeah.
So whatever. I think he probably wants to be like the third or fourth highest paid tight end long term. That's what he's looking for.
Yeah.
Not sure if he gets that this offseason after
No,
one good year.
right? Like I do like him a lot, but that's asking a lot after only one good year here and five like mediocre years in New York. So it's kind of like, mm. I
Yeah.
do think that the change of scenery was really big for him.
Yeah. And he even came out after the tag was, officially placed and saying that him and his family is so delighted to be back in Jacksonville. He loves Doug. He loves Trevor. He feels like this place, rejuvenated his career. He was losing love for the game of football. But then you also saw him going on podcasts and was like, I'm also open to returning to New York, and I'm also open to go be the backup for Travis Kelce. And I'm like, wait a minute, you want top 5 money for a tight end, or you want to be the backup for Travis Kelce? Like, that's not mathing because Travis Kelce is getting a major bag. So is Pat Mahomes, and they don't have that for you. They
Yeah.
barely want to pay wide receivers. So it's like it ain't Miko Hardman and those guys walk up there right now. So you know you're not getting the bag there. So it was just weird. Like, is he just wanting to tax Jacksonville or what? What do you think about that?
So I try not to like read too much into stuff like that because sometimes I feel like they just like say stuff like based on
Mm-hmm.
like what question they're being asked or all like like stuff like that. Um but I just try not to like put too much because I don't think he really means it to like I don't think he means it to like diss Jacksonville or like diss the fans or
Mm-hmm.
anything. And I think like some people kind of took it like that. Um, but I don't think that was his intention at all.
Mm-hmm.
He was just like asked a question and answered it. And it just but I definitely think like sometimes I live in New York, so like I love New York, so I totally get
Mm-hmm.
like living like wanting to like come live here and like
Mm-hmm.
experience the city and everything. But with the Kansas City one, I honestly just feel like it's because they just won the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah.
it's just like okay, they just won the Super Bowl, so you're just saying that because you want to be on a Super Bowl winning team, which like who wouldn't? Like I want the Jags to win the Super Bowl, so hopefully Evan Ingram will be on the team when they do. So you can win a Super Bowl here, Evan Ingram.
Yeah, no, I agree. To your point, they did ask him if things didn't work out in Jacksonville, where could you see yourself going?
Yeah,
So, granted, he was just answering the question, but some people took it a little personally that
yeah,
the responses, like he even mentioned that New York it'd be a mixed response
yeah,
because people literally like wanted Evan Ingram dead in New York. Like they wanted him dead. They didn't want him
yeah.
gone. They wanted him like perish from the earth. So
Yeah, one of my coworkers is a Giants fan, and he just like I just that's all I heard all season was like, "Oh, Evan Ingram, he's good for y'all. He wasn't good for us." And I'm just like, "I'm
mhm.
sorry. Like I don't know what you want me to tell you." Like,
Yeah, and then it really started when he posted that tweet about him missing New York like the week after the playoff loss. And
yeah.
everybody was like, okay. But yeah, I get it. He's friends with Saquon and Daniel Jones, those is
Yeah.
guys, so I get it. Okay. What do you think about the Jawan Taylor situation right now? It's looking kind of meek.
So I really wanted to keep Jawan Taylor. I was hoping that they would find a way to do that. Um, and he's got the Jaguar tattoo and everything. So like I really wanted them to find a way to keep him. But at the end of the day, he can get more money. And so it's kind of just like I don't really blame him. If he wants to go somewhere else, it's gonna pay him more. For he's worth that money, then why not? I'm hoping that there's some way that we can keep him, but at this point, it's looking like that's not going to happen. So, what are
Yeah,
you?
and
What are
then
your thoughts?
yeah, for reference, we're recording on the day of the trade debt or the franchise tag deadline. I'm kind of surprised he wasn't tagged initially
Yeah,
before the Evan Ingram news, just with the value of that position. Obviously, right tackle is way more important than a freaking tight end,
yeah,
as we know, being around the NFL. But yeah, I think, when the season ends, the GM and his personnel and the coaching staff, they get together and set their offseason priorities. Kind of surprised he wasn't a little bit higher up the board, to be honest.
same.
I know they have Walker Little. He played okay at right tackle, great at left tackle.
Hmm.
So a lot of people were like, oh, trade Cam. If you have a left tackle and you have a right tackle,
Yeah.
just trade Cam. If you designate him as a post June 1st trade, the cap hit is much lower and it's very obtainable to just eat.
Hmm.
So that's what everyone was kind of thinking would go down in the back of their minds, but it looks like they prioritized keeping Cam
Yep.
and let Walker Little be the right tackle, and they'll probably draft a swing tackle. But I definitely love Jawan. People keep asking me about how his performance was over the 4 years he's been here since he was a second round draft pick. One great year, one great year, two good. I don't know. It's tough. It depends on if you're going off PFF grades, eye tests, I would say one
Yeah.
great year, one good year, and then two okay years. So, but he's born and raised in Florida, like you mentioned, Jaguar tattoo, been in Florida
Yep.
his whole life. Vocal about he wants to be here. He's gotten better, progressively. Well, his rookie year, and I think this year were his best two. But
Hmm.
he's, been a guy that's getting better and developing. So I would love to keep him, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Third round comp pick though, if he gets a bag,
Yep.
which they're now reporting his value could be like 17, 18 million on the open market,
Yeah.
which is like top five right tackle money.
Yeah.
But he hasn't graded out like a top five right tackle in the NFL. So you overpaying free agency. I'm not sure if the Jaguars are into that market.
Yeah. So we have got to talk about Kevin Ridley.
The big news.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I don't know why. I thought it would take them a little longer to announce it. They announced it pretty quickly after, maybe they didn't announce it quickly and I just thought it was quick, but I felt like it was kind of quick. But he's reinstated. Yay! And like I think it was like the tweet that the Jaguars made with like
Mm-hmm.
Trevor throwing and then it was Ridley. I was like, yes. I'm so excited to see that next season.
Yeah, Trevor actually posted that video on his Instagram today. And he
Oh,
said,
really? I didn't see
yeah, he said,
that.
looks good to me with the fire emoji and a salute emoji. So he's excited about Ridley. He spoke on it so many times. Like he's ready to go with Ridley. And
Yes.
then Ridley and Christian Kirk, I believe, are the same high school class. So I
Ooh,
think that,
okay.
yeah, they played in the McDonald's under All-American game together and they know each other. They've been tweeting back and forth about, the upcoming season. Um, when Kirk dropped that big pass in the playoff game and everyone was crushing him for it,
Yeah.
Ridley stood up for him. And he said, everybody was like, oh, I can't wait till Calvin really gets here next year. So that'll be him instead of Kirk and he'll catch it and all of this stuff. And he was like, no, like we're going to make each other better. So I can't wait for him to push Kirk and those guys get to competing and, just trying to see who's the best receiver because they're both going crazy.
Yeah.
Jaguars are going to win a lot of games.
Yee, so excited.
And then, yeah, we discussed the expectations for him already. Um, I don't feel like my expectations have changed. I think he's going to be very productive.
Yeah, same. I had them winning like 12 games and
Mm-hmm.
I'm keeping it at about 12. There's some teams that I don't know if we can beat them. Like Kansas City. Like we have some hard games next season. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how it goes. But with the way that the AFC South is shaken out, there's really just no excuse to not at least win the division. But I think they can win like 12 or 13 games next season. So they better.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think it also depends on how free agency and the draft goes. I mean, if we do lose Jawan, that's going to be tough, right? Cam generally goes down at some point during the season.
Yeah.
So then Walker Little may have to slide to left. Who's the right tackle? That's going to be huge. So I don't know. It's just a lot of things to see. I mean, Trevor does have one of the fastest releases of the ball. I think he was top five in the NFL. I know he was very much in the top five towards the end of the season, week 14, 15. Didn't pay that metric kind of went out the window as we started the playoff push. It was like, all right, enough silly metrics. Let's win some games here. But yeah, I mean, having a quarterback that can get it out quick helps too and make it easy on the O line. So you may not need
Absolutely.
a world dominating right tackle for Trevor to get the ball out in 2.3 seconds or something like that. So,
Absolutely.
but yeah, really, it's gonna be huge. I saw his statement. Did you read his statement?
I did not.
Okay. So pretty much he just, confessed up, pretty much said that he take full accountability for his actions, that this was a self-inflicted wound, an isolated incident. He earned his punishment and he just looks forward to getting back on track, decided to be in Jacksonville.
Nice.
And then Doug gave a quick statement too, just saying that they're looking forward to integrating him into the team as early as possible. He'll be at the workouts in April, which is right around the corner. Can't wait for that.
Hmm.
And that they just look forward to involving him in the future plans. So they officially give up the 5th round pick because he's reinstated, and then the conditional picks for next year. either fourth, third, or second, depending on playing time. Um, if he's on the team, it's a third. Depending on playing time, it's a, no. If he's on the team, it's a fourth. Depending on playing time, it's a third. And if he's extended, it's a second. So
Okay.
we may give up a second round pick next year for him. So I mean that's pretty huge when you think about it. But
Yeah,
if he's anything close to what he's been before, I'll easily give that up 10 times. So
absolutely. All right.
do you have okay? So the NFL Combine went down over the last week or so, the last 7 days. Did anybody on your board change? Any new draft crushes? Anyone you want to take off the draft crush list?
So I do kind of want to take Michael Meyer off of my draft list. Take him
Ooh,
off. I still have Osiris Torrance. I still like him a lot. I know like the Jaguars talked to him, so that's interesting. Updated one would be Darnell Washington.
okay,
Yeah, he looked really good, and I also would probably take Davis Allen off of my list as well.
okay. Yeah, Davis Allen was getting a little bit of love actually
He
from
was.
was it Mike Mayock? One of the big draft analysts were actually giving him a little bit of love. So okay, he's off the crush list.
Yeah, just for the Jags. I just don't think that he really would do anything for us. I still like him, but
Hmm.
just as far as like who the Jaguars would need, I just need to take him off. But I still like Osiris Torrance. I still like and the new one would be Darnell Washington. But who do you have?
Okay. Yeah, for me, I think Brian Breesy is coming off the board. Um, Mixed reviews about his combine performance, right? Some people were saying on the field his footwork was great. He looked fluid, smooth. 40 time was a little bit slow. His RAS score wasn't too hot, kind of average. People expected him to test like a great athlete, former number one high school recruit, number one player in the nation, all those kind of things. Guy's been through a lot, you know. I just don't know how productive he'll be right away. It takes a while sometimes for those interior players to find their niche.
Yeah.
I don't know how explosive he truly is. He looks to be more of a power guy, which we kind of knew given the stature and how he's built. But yeah, I'm just not feeling it anymore, personally, for Jacksonville. I think he might even go before 24 still. I think somebody's going to take a chance on his upside. He's a big upside pick. But the floor is kind of low. And we've drafted defensive tackles with low floors here, like Tatum Bryan,
Hmm.
so I think people kind of want a little bit of a higher floor if you're taking a D tackle in the first round.
Absolutely.
Osiris Torrance is at the top of the board.
Yes.
I mean, I think this guy's going to be an all pro guard. I saw another metric today about, I forgot how many pass coverage snaps, but 0 sacks allowed. I mean, in the SEC at Louisiana, like this guy's a monster.
Hmm.
Um, Brian Branch didn't run a crazy 40 time or anything like that to wow you and get your eyes popping, but very fluid in the drills. The guy can flip his hips and run. That's exactly what you want out of a cover safety and potentially a nickel back. So I would love to see that guy come in and help us cover Kelsey next year. Seriously. But yeah, Brian Branch is at the top. A couple other guys like Nolan Smith really impressed everyone at the combine. Absolute dog animal. He's a little light, he's in that like high 220 range. You kind of want edge players to be, 235 plus, somewhere in that range, 240. Guys like Josh Allen, you want that size, but I think you just have to look at the production. He doesn't have crazy numbers though. Like he has 3.5 year sack seasons, but look at Trayvon Walker. I mean, those guys go high because of their freak athleticism, the pedigree from Georgia, and then just their personalities and who they are, the leadership that they bring to the field, their mentality. Like they interview really well. I mean, Nolan Smith was great behind the mic. I don't know if you watched any of his interviews, but this guy's gonna be a fan favorite wherever he goes. So,
Nice.
and then Tajay Spears too. I think he looked fluid out there. Um, Jaguars are going to draft a running back. I know a lot of people keep saying they're not. I think they're looking at, having a smaller back like Hasty and, a smaller, he's not really small, but a thinner guy like ETN. They're going to want a bigger guy, and I don't think they're too caught up on a draft pick from last year, Snoop Connor.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see what happens with Snoop.
Yeah, same here. Okay.
Mm.
Well, guys, thank you for tuning in for episode 3 of the Till Corner podcast. We appreciate it so much. Like, subscribe, share, and engage with us on Twitter at Till Corner Pod. Thank you. See you next time.